to start answering more questions. Post Instagram Q&A on Tuesdays now. It's called Dumbbells and Dumb Questions. I take my favorite question and then I will answer it on here and turn it into a YouTube video. So my favorite question, or the most thought-provoking that I got yesterday, it said, "You talk a lot about dialing in nutrition. What does that look like?" That is a great question for several reasons. First reason, because there is so much stuff on social media that is just blanket statements. It says you need to eat better, dial in your nutrition. Like I'm literally guilty of it. Lock in, hit your food goals, but like, what are your goals? What is it that you're locking in? What does locking in look like? And the reason I chose this question is because, yeah, this isn't easily answered with short form content like you see on TikTok and Instagram. So I figured it would be the perfect opportunity to talk about it more and make a longer length YouTube video about it. So there's a couple of things I want to go over. First thing is you have to have, I don't want to say you have to have, but you should have some overarching guidance or goal or something, that you have in mind. For example, maybe you want to put on some mass. You want to put some muscle mass on, you want to gain a little bit of weight. Maybe you're trying to lose weight and preserve muscle mass. Maybe you're just trying to stay where you're at and maintain. Okay. So these are all goals that are often really intertwined with nutrition and fitness and just health. So that, I think, is the first step when we're talking about dialing in. What is your overarching goal? So I'll just use myself, for example. I am just currently trying to maintain where I'm at. I'm not looking to put on a bunch of weight. I'm not looking to lose any weight currently. I sit at about 180 pounds. I just want to stay there. I have a half marathon coming up. I lift 4 or 5 days a week, and just that's what I'm at right now. So if you are trying to do that, you need to come up with a nutrition guide and plan that will allow you to successfully stay on with that goal. And depending on what your goal is, it can be pretty lenient or it can be, more serious and require some serious thought and instruction. But it can pretty much work as simple as this. You can go on ChatGPT and literally type in and say, "Hey, I'm 180 pounds. I want to maintain this weight while building a little bit of muscle, turning some of my body fat into muscle, and help build me a meal plan that will allow me to do that." And it'll walk you through the steps. It would be most beneficial if you ask ChatGPT to also help you calculate something called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which is just like if you were to sit on the couch all day for a full day, how much calories would you burn? Mine is around 1,900 to 2,000 calories. That is just what my body burns on a daily average to stay alive. All right. Then you have to take into account your activity level. So, this can be passive activity, things like just walking around or like moving, lifting your arm, anything. It all burns calories. And then also your exercise and fitness level. So let's say you walk an average of, 15,000 steps a day. You typically lift a 45-minute lift a day, or you go on a jog, or you hit the Stairmaster. You need to get a rough estimate of what you're burning so that way you can add that into your total calorie expenditure. That will let you know how much you are burning in total every day. Because then if you are looking to maintain, you know that on a weekly or monthly average, you can even break it down day to day, you need to be eating about exactly the amount of calories that you are burning. So if I, for example, am burning a total, just base rate, fitness, and, passive all together, I'm burning a total of 3,500 calories. If I want to maintain that, my weight, I need to be eating 3,500 calories as well. And, if you want to add mass, you need to be eating more. You need to be in a caloric surplus. If you want to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. So that's kind of a base, simple way that you can do that. And then based off of that, with whatever your goal is, you can even ask ChatGPT to help come up with a macronutrient portfolio based on what your goal is. So this will tell you, you tell it your activity levels, things like that, and this will tell you how many grams of protein you need, how many grams of carbs you should be eating based off of your activity, and fats, and also some of those micronutrients too that you're getting through food. There are also calculators for this online, and you can mess around with those. They're all free. They're on there. And that will allow you, once you have all that information, that will allow you to have a plan day to day, week to week, month to month. And that probably sounds like a lot. I made it sound like more than it is. You could probably do all that in 5 minutes with how insane AI is with helping now. But back before that was even a thing, you had to like search on the internet, maybe talk with a dietitian, all this stuff. It's crazy what things can do now. Once you have that, those basic guidelines, that's your overarching goal. That is where the direction you're working towards, or what's going to guide you every day. So you can come up with meals based off of this. Like, let's first say, for example, my data says that my protein intake should be 180 grams, which is about right. I typically eat 180 to 200 grams of protein. You can start building meals off this. You can start building meals thinking about, okay, I'll have this protein, this many grams here, these carbs here, this amount of fats here. What could fit that? What could I make to hit that? Get as close as you can. And throughout the day, you should be trying to consistently hit those numbers and that goal. The second most important thing that I'm talking about when I'm talking about dialing in, all of that stuff aside, is just showing some discipline, not eating whatever you want whenever you want. I am a huge proponent of having a meal or eating foods that you enjoy. I'm a total foodie. I go to a restaurant typically every Friday and just eat whatever I want. Okay. Typically that looks like a giant cheeseburger or burrito or something with some French fries and probably some frozen yogurt after. But for a majority of the time, you need to be making disciplined decisions that will push you in the direction of your goal. How dialed in and locked in you are to the goal and the direction that you want to be moving is directly correlated to how seriously you take it. That's how fast you will get there, is how serious you take it. If you don't veer from the plan, 100% of the time, you will get there a lot faster than being half in and half out. Okay. So a good way, very simple mechanism to use that I enjoy a lot, that I pretty much follow closely, I might be a little bit more strict, is the 80-20 rule. So 80% fully dialed in, meaning you're eating the exact meals that fit into your nutrition plan, and then 20% whatever you want. So, that could mean if you're having 30 meals a week, that's about right. Close, maybe 25 to 30 meals a week. 20% of that would be things that you enjoy eating, maybe aren't perfectly lined up with your nutritional plan or guide. But it is important to remember and take into consideration that the more serious you take the plan or whatever your goal is, the faster you will get there. So, in summary, when I say be dialed in with nutrition, what I mean is have a goal or something that you know you are working towards, whether it's maintaining, losing, building. Identify a plan and be disciplined in staying on track with that. And a good guiding factor is to use the 80-20 rule. I'm not going to get totally in depth with it. You can look up its basic premise if you're still a little bit confused by it based off of what I've talked about. Or you can ask ChatGPT. It'll tell you exactly what the 80-20 rule is. And making decisions that will, a majority of the time, push you in the right direction. That's what I mean by dialing in nutrition. That's what it looks like for me. There are so many resources that you can look to. Research online, calculators, like I mentioned. AI is incredible. It can literally help you with anything. Just whatever your question is, literally just type it into the box and it will spit out something typically very useful. This was a ton of fun. I like doing this. I like talking about these questions and answering things and learning new things myself. I'm looking forward to next week. If this helped you at all, please drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much. Lesson learned.